All right, figuring out how to do this for the first time. Give me 1 second. Need to figure out how to add Chas to this. I see some people on, so that's good. It's working. Hey guys. How do I do this? Oh, I see. Did I do that right? Accept. Oh, thank goodness it worked. Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm in a different setting today since I'm in your neck of the woods. So I'm holding my phone. Normally I prop it and have like my arm. So if I go, it's because my arm got tired.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm like I'm at my desk. I have like some coffee, so I'm good to go, but that's totally understandable. Oh my,
I'm sitting on a random bed and holding my phone. So this is how we do things. We just make it happen.
uh-huh. Exactly. Exactly. We just make it work. We roll the punches. Love
What are you
it.
doing?
I had PT this morning, so I did that bright and early, like 8:30, which is usually when I'm rolling out of bed. So I actually had to get up like 7 a.m. So I was like, oh my gosh, I get to watch the sunrise or whatever. So it was a different morning for me, but you're used to waking up at like 5 a.m. every single morning.
Yeah, I get up at like 5:36 easily. Like my either my dog wakes me up or I just wake up. It's just a natural thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a scheduled. It's also because of discipline from CrossFit. I always did my workouts around 8:30, so it was just a natural habit that I've created over time.
Hmm. That makes sense. And, because if you practice something for long enough, I'm sure you get better at it. I just haven't practiced waking up that early. So don't really see a need to either right now. But, as my life changes, maybe I'll have to do that eventually.
Well,
So
and some
might have to.
people like I work really well in the morning and I work out really well in the morning, but I don't work out really well at night and I fall asleep at like 8:39, so it makes sense that I wake up early.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we're used to doing this on Facebook, I think. Have you ever gone live on Instagram before? I haven't.
Oh yeah,
So I know.
hundreds of times.
Okay, cool. Well, this is kind of new, but let's just introduce yourself maybe,
Yeah.
because I'm sure this, like my followers and audience is maybe a bit different than what we're used to. So just maybe introduce yourself and maybe explain what you do, who you are, maybe your background just a little bit, because there's so many directions we could jump into, but maybe just start there, pretty vague, and we could jump into some more CrossFit things and nutrition and just kind of see however it goes. I didn't plan any of this. I just want it to be very like natural and everything. So,
Absolutely. My name's Chastity Snowden. I am a nutrition coach currently. I own the FLA Movement Corporation, and there are 6 coaches in the company, a dietitian on staff. Um, the reason I do nutrition coaching is because I was really overweight, also had an autoimmune disease, did bikini competition, so I lost 75 pounds. Then I went to the CrossFit Games and regionals 3 times as well. So fitness has always been kind of a part of my life. And then recently I also got mold poisoning and am coming off medication from that and chronic migraines and trigeminal neuralgia. So health issues, my own, is typically what I'm sharing about, as well as helping hundreds of other people change their body composition and change their health. Um, but that's who I am. I got my bachelor's in '03, and I've also been a massage therapist as well. And then I've traveled all over the place. I'm kind of a migrant, but that's what I do.
I know. I think it's so crazy because I am now a coach for you. We work together for those that don't know. And what immediately interested me specifically to you forever ago was that you went to the CrossFit
Mm-hmm.
Games. And my mom was a client in the company a few years ago, and she first mentioned it to me. She said, you should really check this out, because I had started getting into CrossFit very early on at that point. And she said, Chastity's been to the CrossFit Games, which in my mind was like, whoa, like you have to be, that's the best of the best to go to the games and everything like that. So it immediately piqued my interest. So I don't know. I know the Open's happening right now. I think, yeah, they just did 23.1. And I thought it was crazy that that workout was the very first Open workout that you ever did,
It was
right?
I think it's the fourth workout, because I think it was 2014's fourth workout. Because back then, and if you guys don't know what the Open is, because a lot of people, you might not do CrossFit, basically, in order to go to the games, the way it used to be is you would do the Open. Everybody in the world does 5 workouts over 5 weeks. Now it's 3 workouts over 3 weeks. Whoever qualified to be the top athletes went to a second level, which was regionals, and then whoever was top in that region would go to the CrossFit Games. And so when we did it, there was 5 workouts. So I think it was our 4th workout, but this was the first time I ever did this workout, in 2014. And it was the first time I had done a muscle up in a workout.
Yeah. A ring muscle up, right?
A ring muscle up, which is the hardest movement in CrossFit, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh, like that's just unfathomable for me to even imagine that, but to get it in the Open itself, like what a joy. I feel like you were probably just on cloud 9 for like the full week.
Yeah, and I got 2. So that was exciting. Yeah.
What I think is really cool about you too is how literally you have been all over the spectrum when it comes to health, performance, aesthetics, really any goal someone could have, especially that comes into the company. You've been there, you've walked through it, and you've achieved it, which I think is really cool. But maybe today, just focusing a little bit more on the CrossFit element, I'd love to know your experience training for the games, maybe even take us back to when you very first started to consider, hey, I might want to train CrossFit and actually make this my goal. Can you walk us through just like your process through that, and how you freaking got to the games? Like, how did that even?
Well, first of all, everybody thought I was crazy because it's a dream. But to be honest, everybody talked about it at that time. They all said, we want to go to the CrossFit Games, but like I meant it. So the very,
what year was this in when you were, because when did you first start CrossFit?
2014 was when was my first Open. 2013 is when I started.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, the way that I did that was very, very early on, and I'm an advocate of coaching. I hired my own coach. Kyle Ruth with Training Think Tank was my coach from the very beginning. And I told him I wanted to go to the games when I signed up. And I was 9 months into CrossFit, meaning when I walked into the CrossFit gym, I didn't know what CrossFit was. I started CrossFit 2013, April 7th. It's like my CrossFit birthday.
Okay.
And then 9 months later, I got a coach and was like, I want to go to the CrossFit Games. And he was like, okay, sure.
He's like, or whatever, maybe, no.
Yeah. So the best thing about having a coach in any industry is they look for your weaknesses and you work on your weaknesses. The problem with just going to the gym and doing the regular workouts every single week is they don't necessarily program to your weaknesses. They program to the masses, which most likely, if you're new, it's going to hit your weaknesses because you have so many. But I worked so much at CrossFit that he was able to get me really good really fast, because I would spend not only a couple hours in the gym, but I would spend time with my food and with stretching and with sleeping and with supplementation and mindset shifts. So when I signed up, it became a job for me. It wasn't like something I kind of wanted to do. I was going to do it. I read magazines about it. I would record all of my videos of every movement. It became a science and a study versus something I did for fun.
Yeah. And but I think that's the clear difference too. And just what I've noticed with working with clients, there is a clear difference between going all in and being partially in to your goal.
Yes.
Right. And so many times I see when people just completely flood themselves with our community and with coaching, and they're willing to go the extra mile, they're going to see that, you know? Yeah, so that makes perfect sense. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to train, but I'm also going to sleep well. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to make sure my mobility is on point. I'm going to have my nutrition in line. It's like all these markers are there.
Yes.
Wow.
And then the one thing with CrossFit is they test you. So I always had something and accountability all the time, but I was always being tested as to what I was doing was actually improving where I was going. Because we knew that I was really bad at certain skills. So I would do certain training things during the week. And then 4 weeks later, and the training I was doing was very boring by myself, not in like a community. I would go to the gym and be around them, but they were having fun and I was over here doing really weird stuff.
Yeah.
But it would test me to see if I was actually moving forward. Just like as a nutrition coach, we're like, please weigh yourself, measure yourself, and, you know, give us all these points of progress. He would always test to make sure what I was doing was actually getting me to where I wanted to go.
Right. And that is a huge element too of it. And I think the boring stuff does lead to overall better performance in the long run.
Yes.
Right.
All the boring stuff. And I was old too. So most of the people, when I was at the regionals in 2016, I went to regionals individually and I was standing in a chute next to 6 or 8 people. And I was in my late 30s and they were all in their early 20s.
Wow. Wow. Just the mindset you had to put yourself in must have been really hard when you're standing next to all these like younger athletes and then you're expected to go out and outperform them, you know?
Yeah, most of that the age of children I could have had birth. Like I could have given birth to all of these people. I'm like, I could have been their mom and I'm competing doing the exact same weight, the exact same thing. And I started when I was in my late 30s. And so
that is such like an inspiration too, to just hear that, because I think so many people, whatever their goal is, I really don't care what it is. I think they just think they're disqualified once they hit a certain age.
Absolutely.
And that's such a lie, because I've coached people in their 70s and we're healing their bodies. We're getting them to their goals. We're changing their body composition. Harry has freaking abs at like, what, 61, 60? Like, their age is not an excuse, you know? But so often
That is so true. And a lot of times we use it as an excuse to not try, or we use it as an excuse to not continue. And I very well could have used it as an excuse to not continue. Like, oh, I'm too old. I might as well just stop. But I mean, my second regional team I went on, they would just, you know, call me the mom. And, you know, like, I mean, I could have, you know, given birth to a couple of the people on the team. And, you know, I'm like, but it just made it more fun. But I had to, because of my age, go a step beyond and really take into account my nutrition, my sleep, my recovery, not just, hey, I'm going to the gym and grinding, and I'm also grinding at my work and grinding on the weekends with my friends and drinking. And I had to treat it like a business.
Yeah. And that was your goal. So you're like, I'm all in, and that's it. Going after this one goal, and you did it, right? Like, but talk to me maybe, because we've talked about this a little bit before, but I really want to dig in a little bit to, it took you definitely a few years to make it to the games, right? Like you got to regionals, but then you would miss it like by, I mean, like a hair or an inch. And talk to me a little bit about that process, because it's like, I don't remember exactly how many years you tried to make it, but the last year, I think you missed it by like what, one spot to the game. Could you talk us through that a little bit and tell us that part of it?
Yeah, we were on a team and we ended up sixth, and the top 5 teams make it to the CrossFit Games. And to be honest, I had already made up my mind this was going to be the last year that I was going to try to go for the CrossFit Games, because it's a lot of, if you're just working out for fun, it doesn't take as many hours to work out to try to be at that level. It took a lot of time, and I really wanted a thriving business as well as a thriving like family life as well. And so I needed time for that. Then I kind of wanted a dog and things like that.
Yeah. I kind of want to just like settle down maybe.
Yeah.
Like, 6 hours.
And not live in a random apartment in a random city where I knew I wasn't going to end up. But I was making sacrifices in order to get there. So we ended up 6th, one place away, a couple of movements even away, and we know exactly what we did, things that happened that could have given us those extra few points to get us in the top 5 to make it to the games.
And at that point, how many years had you been training to get to the games?
5.
5.
4.5, 5, yeah.
Okay. That in itself, though, is, to me, feels like a long time to work for one solid thing. And you're like, I'm going to try for one more year, and then you're one place away. How did that feel in the moment?
In the moment, it felt like my identity of who I was completely gone, because I wasn't, like I had told myself for so long, I'm a games athlete, because I knew that's what I would be. I'm going to be a games athlete. So I realized, like, number one, later on, but at the moment I felt like I was nobody, because I'd failed. I didn't make it. So I was no longer worthy of being around anybody. I was no longer important. I was no longer worthy of giving advice. I went from feeling like I was helpful to people to nothing in the matter of moments. It was a very, very hard time in my life.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had amazing mentors and amazing coaches in my life that helped me realize that if I woke up tomorrow, what was I going to do? Eat the same food, go to the gym, probably have the same sleeping schedule, probably talk to the same people. I loved the journey of getting better physically.
Yeah.
So why did it matter that I didn't make the games? Yes, that was going to be a weekend of amazing experience, and I missed out on it that year. But I'm going to keep training, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, not because of just getting to the goal, but because I actually enjoyed the journey. And at that point, I realized this is where the FLA fearless comes from, the F part. I realized that I really didn't have anything to fear anymore, because I couldn't lose it. I couldn't get any closer, and I'd lost it already. Like, there was nothing else ever to fear. I got as close as I possibly could get and lost. And so they were like, you have a choice. You can either train again for a year and try again, or you can train again for a year and not try again, because either way, you're going to be doing this. This is who you are. So I chose to train again for a year.
And then the next year is when it happened, and you made the games in 2018.
Yeah, I went to the games as a master's athlete. So as a master's athlete, you have to be top 20 in the world, not just top 20 in your region, which now I'm fighting all those girls over in like the Icelandic chicks. Those girls are kind of scary.
They're so good.
Yeah. So it was hard.
Wow. But you made it top 20 in the world. Right after you almost made it, you decided to train again. And that next year, after what felt in the moment like the biggest failure, that next year you made it. And that that's just really hard for me to even wrap my head around what that experience must have been like for you. And maybe talk, how was it at the games itself? Was it what you expected? I know you mentioned before how you were competing literally right next to Sam Briggs and how you're like looking over at her like, holy crap. Like I'm competing next to this insane athlete right now.
So I distinctly remember in like 2013, 2014, having a dream and sitting and looking through Box magazine and realizing Sam Briggs was the same age as me. And being like, I want to be, if she can do it, I can do it. Not realizing that her background was she's an engine and has been competing at these crazy endeavors most of her life. And her mentality is like all athlete all day long. And I've known her for a while and trained with her some in Miami during the training. But once I got to the games and was inside the experience, I was just happy to be there. But the very first workout was the obstacle course. First of all, I've never done an obstacle course, and then they were like, hey, go do this.
No.
That was insane. But I remember crossing the finish line and bursting into tears from happiness. And all of the girls that were there just looked at me and they were like, why are you crying? And I'm like, I'm so happy to be here. And I have looked up to all of you. And there was so many of them.
Yeah.
That I knew them by name, and I had looked at them in magazines, and I was like, I'm standing beside you now. I'm competing with you. Oh, and by the way, there's girls behind me that I knew their names, and I just beat them at some weird obstacle course. And I was just so happy to be able to do every single workout. And my only goal was to finish the weekend and not die.
Yeah, that's how I feel in like summer workouts, especially at my gym. But like to be at the games and think, okay, I just have to get through this workout. I just can't die. I just can't pass out.
Yeah.
Like
there's a lot of people filming this, and there's a really, really amazing athlete next to me. So I need to like keep up or just be near her. Yeah. Funny thing is Sam, in a lot of the workouts, I have pictures of her cheering me on because she got done a few minutes before me and was recovered because she recovers so fast, and she cheered me on.
She's like, you got this, Chas. Let's go.
She's like, why are you so slow? But I did beat her at a couple workouts, which was amazing. So
crazy.
It doesn't, in CrossFit or in anything in life, you're going to be better than some people at some things and not as good at other things. And some people are just going to beat you. And it was really, really cool to be on that floor and be like, I made it, but also, hey, I'm better than her. And she's really better than me at a lot of stuff too.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, I think about CrossFit. It's like, you're not just going to be great at one thing, but the goal is to be good at everything. Right?
Yes.
It's like, how can we get to that point? And that's the thing. Like for a running workout, I'm probably going to be dead last. But if there's burpees in a workout, I'm probably going to be okay. Yeah. Like, you know? So it's give and take for those types of things. Oh my gosh. What would you say your biggest advice would be for someone who's maybe in that athletic realm or training CrossFit or maybe has big goals for themselves like you do and did and always have been, and being a games athlete? What would you say is like the best takeaway or best piece of advice that you could give someone?
I would definitely say work on your weaknesses and monitor your food. People don't. What'd you say? What'd you say?
Because food has just as much to do with it, right?
Yeah. I can't even tell you how many, well, now that I'm a coach, how many athletes are either not eating enough or the little tweaks that we do change their food. But I got my own nutrition coach, which is one of the reasons I started nutrition coaching. And that helped. I got my own CrossFit coach, but then when I added nutrition coaching to it, it just took it to another level. I finally was eating enough. I finally wasn't scared of food. I was finally fueling my workouts. I was finally recovering fast enough to be back in the gym the next day to work on my weaknesses again. And the faster you recover, the faster you can get into the gym and the faster your muscle is going to build, which is all food. And what people don't understand is CrossFit athletes are typically not just good at the movements or the going in and doing the workouts. They're really masters at recovering faster than you. Because if you go to a competition, those competitions are back to back to back to back workouts, and they've become masters at recovering their body before the next workout or recovering their body before the next day, so that they come in at 90% and everybody comes in at 60%, and they just annihilate you because they recover faster. But they've trained the recovery, not just the activity.
Oh my gosh. That makes so much sense, but it's also not something I feel like I would even initially think to do, right? Like I know now because that's what I do. I teach people how to do that. But looking back in the past, I would have just thought you need to grind, you need to go, you need to go, you need to eat very, not a lot of food, and you need to train super hard, because that's what that was. And thank God I found you when I did, because at that point I had only been doing CrossFit for a few months. If I would have been going the route I was going and not recovering and not sleeping and not eating enough, I would have injured myself. And I would have, I don't even know. I think I would have been facing just a lot of injury, would have probably hated it because I wouldn't have had the energy to support those workouts. And I'm just really glad that I found you when I did, because you have transformed my life, my energy, my body composition, my CrossFit workouts, and just my look on food. And so I agree with that. And recovery is so important. I could not agree more. And something I think just so many people skip.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a big deal for me because I was, 15, 20 years older than most of the people I was training with. I didn't have a choice, but also I had good mentors to not only just tell me what to do, and I'm very coachable, but they educated me on why I was doing it. So the education drove my compliance. I understood that I'm doing all of this so that I can be better, not just because they said so. So it was very helpful to be educated about it as well.
Yeah, the education element, the coach element, all amazing. Because it was really weird for me when I first started, even as a client for you a while ago. And I just always wanted to be super small. I was in competitive cheer my whole life. I was taught to be small. You want to be small. And it's not that anyone ever vocally said that to me, but it's like you're weighing in maybe at practice, or you're expected to fit into the uniform, and just all of these things, right? And I just looked at food as like I have to eat very small to stay the same weight. It's like in my mind I had this weight I was going to stay, and if I ever surpassed that, I would just stop eating for like a week and drop back down, and then we'd be good. And then I'd jump back into old habits, and it was this yo-yo effect of like gain, lose, gain, lose. But if I'm small, I guess it's okay. And it was horrible to live in that, right? And I hated it. And when I came to you, you taught me about nutrition. You taught me what's in the food I'm eating, and actually that I needed to be eating more food. And what was my body composition changed. I look the best I've ever looked, but I weigh more now than I was then. And that at the time was so hard for my mind to wrap around. But now it's like I enjoy eating, and I don't even care if the scale goes up or down. I'm like, whatever. Like, am I fueled? Do I have energy? I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm living life. And it's the best thing ever. And now I get to teach other people how to do that. And you do as well, to get to whatever goal they have. So how can people find you if they want to explore more about this. They're interested. They maybe have more questions. I get messages like that all the time. So I maybe thought that we could take just an opportunity to let people know where they can find you.
First thing is, if we're on your page, the easiest way, reach out to EmmaGrace. She can connect you directly to me and give you my cell phone number, or you can go to my website. It's FLAmovement.com, like Florida movement, but it stands for Fearlessly Authentic Movement. And the authentic part will come on maybe and tell you that part of the story later. But it is a movement because we move toward our goals. But FLAmovement.com, you can go on there, sign up for a call with me, or easy enough, send EmmaGrace a text. She'll get you directly to my cell phone anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Chastity, I don't want to take any more of your time. I know we have some work to do, but I appreciate this. And I just love hearing all your stories. And I'm just like a sponge anytime I'm around, soak up all this advice and like be around you all the time. So thank you so much for like taking time out of your schedule to do this. So fun.
You're so welcome. Smile for me. I'm going to take a picture of us.
All right. Smile. Here we go.
Perfect.
All right, cool. All right, Chas. Well, we'll talk soon, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Talk to you soon, hon. Bye-bye.